All right, let's talk Florida real estate. I mean, you've probably seen the headlines, right? Is it a boom? Is it a bust? It's kind of confusing. Well, we've got the fresh data for July 2025, and believe me, it's telling a fascinating story, one that might not be what you're expecting. So let's dive right in and unpack what's really going on.
So, here's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Is the Florida housing market about to drop some huge surprise on us? Like a big crash or some sudden crazy shift? It's totally a fair question, especially with all the noise out there. But the actual numbers, they're painting a much more nuanced picture.
Turns out it's not really a surprise at all. No major shocks, no big drama in the July numbers. What we're seeing is more of a confirmation of a trend that's been building all year. And that trend is this: stability, but with a huge catch. It's really a tale of two completely different markets. We're talking single-family homes on one side and condos and townhouses on the other. They're playing by totally different rules right now.
Okay, so to really get a feel for this split, we've got to start with the basics. Who's buying? Let's take a look at demand.
And right away, bam, the difference is it's stark. Check this out. Closed sales for single-family homes, they're actually up almost 3% compared to last year. But for condos and townhouses, they tanked. We're talking a drop of nearly 12%. That is a massive, massive split in where buyers are putting their money.
I mean, look at that gap. It really puts it into perspective, doesn't it? One side of the market is showing growth, while the other is in a serious slump. This right here, this is the tale of two markets in a nutshell. Now, if we want a little peek into the future, we look at new pending sales. These are the homes that just went under contract, so they tell us where the market is headed next month. And guess what? The story continues. For single-family homes, it's basically flat, down less than 1%, which is pretty much nothing. But for condos, another drop, this time over 6%. So yeah, that weakness in the condo market, it's not a one-time thing. It's a real trend.
So, you might be wondering, what's propping up the single-family market? Well, a big part of it is mortgage rates. They've been flirting with that 6.5% mark, down from over 7%. And that little bit of relief seems to be just enough to coax some of those buyers who've been waiting on the sidelines back into the game. It just makes things a tiny bit more affordable, and that's making a difference.
All right, so that's the demand side of the story, but what about supply? What's actually out there for sale? Let's flip the coin and take a look. And here's where it gets kind of interesting. We're actually seeing fewer new homes hit the market across the board. For single-family homes, new listings are down for the third straight month. But even in that weaker condo market, new listings dropped by almost 11%. So that big flood of inventory we saw earlier in the year, it looks like it's starting to dry up.
Okay, real quick, before we get to the next set of numbers, let's just make sure we're on the same page with this term, median time to contract. It's super simple. It's just a typical number of days a house sits on the market before the seller accepts an offer. It's a great way to measure how hot or not the market is.
And wow, this is where you can really see that split in demand we were talking about. A single-family home is taking about 48 days to go under contract, but a condo? A whopping 68 days. That's a full 20 extra days on the market. It's a crystal clear sign that condo buyers are in no rush at all.
And just to put that number into perspective for you, the time it takes to sell a condo has shot up by 33% compared to this time last year. That is a huge slowdown. It's like that part of the market slammed on the brakes.
Okay, so demand is split, and condos are sitting on the market longer. So the big question is, how is this all hitting the wallet? Let's talk about the price tag.
So here's where we stand in July. The median price for a single-family home is sitting at $410,000. For a condo or townhouse, it's $295,000. But honestly, the sticker price is only half the story. The really interesting part is how these numbers compare to last year.
And would you look at that? There's that pattern again. Single-family home prices are down a little, about 1.7%. But condos, a much steeper drop of over 6%. It's a direct reflection of that weak demand and longer time on market we were just talking about.
Now, let's add a really important piece of context here for single-family homes. Yes, this is the 5th month in a row that prices are down from the year before. But, and this is a big but, the declines aren't getting worse. In fact, this 1.7% dip is actually the smallest drop we've seen in those 5 months. So this signals stability, not a market in free fall.
So we've crunched the numbers on demand, supply, and price. Let's pull it all together now and get to the real bottom line. What does all this actually mean for you if you're thinking about buying or selling in Florida right now?
Look, it really boils down to this one simple fact. There's a lot of inventory out there, and that means buyers, especially buyers who are ready to make a move, are in the driver's seat. You've got more options and way more room to negotiate than we've seen in a really, really long time. But hold on, it's not quite that simple. Yeah, buyers have the upper hand for now, but that advantage could be shrinking because, remember, fewer new listings are coming online. Then you've got this huge wave of sideline buyers just waiting for mortgage rates to drop a little more before they jump in. And maybe most importantly, the total amount of inventory out there, it looks like it has already peaked and is starting to decline. So things are getting a little complicated.
And that really brings us to the final critical question. We're in this unique window where buyers definitely have some power. But with inventory getting tighter and all those other potential buyers waiting in the wings, you have to ask yourself, how long can this buyer's advantage possibly last? It's something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.